There is one enemy that is so deceitful and so powerful that only the precious Son of God has the power to defeat it. That enemy is sin. Sin was in the beginning in the Garden of Eden, and it is the father of death. Sin is responsible for millions upon millions of people dying throughout all of world history, and sin is responsible for the destruction of the world in the days of Noah, in which every single human being perished on earth, except for Noah and his family. Not only so, but after Noah's flood, sin was the reason for the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, cities that were rampant in gross sins, homosexuality, bestiality, fornication, and all sorts of sexual immorality. We could go on and on about sin and how it is responsible for the destruction and for the ruin of the lives of millions of people, not only throughout the Bible, but throughout world history. Sin has been and always will be the demise of any nation, the destruction of any people, and the reproach of any race. Sin has done more to harm the human race than any disease, than any war, than any device or invention known to man. Ever since mankind has walked the earth, sin has reigned lord over every man, woman, and child as a cruel taskmaster. In the first chapter of the Gospel of Matthew, we read one version of the nativity story in which we find the true purpose for Jesus Christ, the Son of God, coming down to earth. It was to save mankind from sin. It says, "Now the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise. When as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privily. But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins." The Bible here paints a clear picture of the real reason why Jesus Christ came to the earth. It was to save his people from their sins. You know, a story is told from a certain book called Letters from a Soviet Prison Camp, in which the man who was apprehended, he was apprehended for holding quote-unquote illegal religious meetings. And while he was in his jail cell, he said it was so cold and that he didn't have a blanket that his feet became like blocks of ice. And so he suffered a lot at the hand of his captors. And you see, friends, that's what sin does. It is so callous, so cold, so cruel that it will literally bring you torment. It will bring you harm. And so, friend, sin is nothing to play with. Things like drunkenness, witchcraft, hatred, malice, anger, fornication, these are all forms of sin. And Jesus said in John chapter 8, he said, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. And the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abideth ever. If therefore the Son shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed." Jesus said that whosoever commits sin is the servant of sin, or the slave of sin. And so sin can have so much control over a person's life that they can actually be literally enslaved. And so the only way a person can be set free from this enslavement is through Jesus Christ. You know, I'm reminded of the movie Lord of the Rings, and I think about one of the main characters in the movie called Gollum. And this individual was so obsessed with the ring, he called it his precious, my precious. And he spent his entire life pursuing his desire, his lust for this ring and the power that it had. And so it's been said before that throughout the story, Gollum was torn between his lust for the ring and his desire to be set free from it. And so that's what sin does, my friend. It's it's much like this lust for the ring, the precious, that we call it our precious, whatever our sin is, we're very apprehensive of giving it up, and we spend our entire lives pursuing it. And yet we have this battle within us to not just obtain it, but to also be somewhat set free from it. And so, much like the demise of Gollum, who ultimately paid the price by being cast into the fires of Mount Doom, we also are cast into the fires of hell for our very sins, in which we pay the ultimate price. And so our life does not have to end that way. It doesn't have to end so tragically. We can have the freedom in Jesus Christ. Paul said in his epistle to the Galatians, he said, stand fast, therefore, in the... Paul said in his epistle to the Galatians, he said, stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. And he was saying, look, you were set free from sin. Why would you go back to it? You are already set free from this horrible taskmaster, this enslavement. You've been set free from it. You've been set free from this bondage. Don't go back to it. He was speaking to the Christians. And Christians, we as Christians can be tempted to go back to sin. We can go back to the old sins that we were set free from. But Paul's saying, don't go back. Why would you go back to it? It's a cruel master. And so when I think about addicts, like dope addicts, alcohol addicts, and drug addicts, I already said drug addicts, but sex addicts, I think about how much they give up to obtain their precious, their sin. I think about how they give up their marriages, even their children. So they give up their entire lives, their jobs, everything. They give everything up just to obtain this precious of theirs. And it's a total shame because they are literally enslaved to their sinful desires, and they cannot set themselves free. Jesus promised, if the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. And that's a promise, my friend, that God will set you free if you so choose. And for those of you who know country music, I don't know if you remember the song by Kenny Chesney. It was titled, That's Why I'm Here. And in the song, he tells the story of an alcohol addict. And the song goes something like this. It says, it's the simple things in life, like the kids at home and a loving wife, that you miss the most when you lose control. And everything you love starts to disappear. And the devil takes your hand and says, no fear, have another shot, just one more beer. Ladies and gentlemen, one more beer could mean one less hour you have to spend on this earth, one less day, one less year. And to be quite frank, not too many people can say no to just one more beer, especially if that's their precious, if that's something they desire. You see, they can't stop what they're doing. They have lost control. They are slaves to their sin. And that's what sin does. Sin will take you farther than you want to go, keep you longer than you want to stay, and it will cost you more than you want to pay. Friend, if you have enslaved yourself to sin, let me encourage you to take your issues to the very one who can set you free, and that's Jesus Christ, and to his word. The Bible will set you free if you read it, if you trust it, if you believe it, if you practice it, if you obey it. God will set you free from the vice grip of sin. Thank you for listening to The Value of Truth Ministries. I'm Brian Price.